CBS News security analyst Paul Viollis joins me now on the phone. Paul, thanks so much for calling in. What is a typical response from police in these situations? And of course, this is still an active situation as far as we know.
Right, Tanya, and that's critical for everybody to understand. This is very much of a fluid situation. What you're seeing is an interior and exterior perimeter being set by police. We know they understand where the threat is and where it's coming from. So they'll set the interior perimeter, and that is where you see the yellow tape. Police will operate inside that. No one will come inside that outside of police. They'll start to evacuate homes, which they already have, and you can see that. Now, they can't force evacuation, but they can ask people and, really kind of beseech them to understand that it's in their best interest to evacuate all homes within the area that they feel is going to be high risk. They're going to try to establish eyes and ears inside that particular home so that they can understand as much as possible what's going on. They're going to open up lines of communication. So typically you're going to have a negotiator from the police department. Now, Philadelphia has one of the most experienced tactical units in the country. So you're going to see a negotiator that's going to open lines of communication with the individual inside and do their best to explain to them it's in their best interest to surrender. And that's what's probably going on right now as we speak.
So, Paul, when you mentioned there's an interior sort of perimeter that police are most concerned with, when we look at the wide shot there and we see the police tape, from a distance, there you go, that's the shot I was looking for. That doesn't look like a very big area. So are you saying that the shooter or the suspect is suspected to be within that little swath?
That's correct. Now, you're also, if you can see, just past where Rivero is, you can see that there are vehicles set at the ends of each street. Mm-hmm. That's the outer perimeter, and that's where police, and you have probably going to be the uniformed officers from Philadelphia Police Department that are going to be posted at that area to make sure that, and this is a great shot that CBSN has here, is that you can see that outer perimeter that police have set to ensure that citizens, media, et cetera, cannot come anywhere relatively close so that they could be hurt. So that's that outer perimeter you're looking at right now. Great shot.
Of course, you mentioned that they cannot force people to evacuate, so this is still a dangerous and fluid situation.
No, it is very much so, Tanya. And having been down this road, you can only do your best. You can't force someone out of the house. Mm-hmm. So this is where those communication skills of police officers really come in handy, to explain that it's really in their best interest and to help them evacuate as quickly as possible and as safely as possible, and ensure then that as soon as the risk is mitigated, that they will be escorted back to their home. That's the key part right here. Make sure that area is clear of any kind of collateral damage so that police can take complete charge of that situation and open up those lines of communication so that hopefully they can mitigate this without any more shots, and they can dissolve this threat.
And what's so extraordinary is Rivero was saying that she could hear some of those negotiations taking place. That's how close she is, which sounds rather terrifying, and I don't know how safe that is. But Paul, in a situation like this, police know that this shooter has fired many rounds, multiple rounds. Witnesses report hearing hundreds of gunshots. So what does that tell you about the ammunition capacity of this suspect?
Well, the biggest part about that, Tanya, is that, and I'm not questioning the validity of what any of the witnesses have said, but having done this for just about 40 years now, I can tell you that when you hear gunfire, it's a traumatic event. Mm. And for a civilian to hear that, what may sound like 100 may not have necessarily been 100. And you've got that huge adrenaline rush that's going through everyone in the neighborhood right now, and that's more than understandable. So I don't want to say that you really have to take it with a grain of salt, but you have to understand that people are in a traumatic situation, so you don't necessarily know for sure that 100 rounds that came off was really 100 rounds.
Sure.
You just know that what they said, though, Tanya, means that they heard them in succession, which is telling police the type of weapon or weapons that the individual may in fact possess. That's the key part that they take from that.
And there's no way to gauge then when, for instance, he may be out of ammunition, when it may be safe for them to storm the locale.
You're absolutely correct. Now, part of that, though, Tanya, goes back to the genesis of this investigation where, from what I understand, shortly after 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, narcotics officers were attempting to serve a warrant at that house, which would tell us that narcotics officers had intelligence of the individual or individuals and the house. Typically, that means that they've already done surveillance on that house and those individuals, so it's not like they're going to go in there blind.
Right.
So they probably have a good amount of information right now, which will assist them in good, positive lines of communication with the individual, with the barricaded suspect, to hopefully mitigate this expeditiously.
All right. Well, once again, this remains a fluid situation. Thank you so much, Paul Viollis, for filling us in on exactly what's going on a tactical level right there on the ground as we speak. Thank you so much, Paul.
My pleasure, Tanya.